Hey, welcome to the channel, Lost No More. This is the first video. Hopefully I get a lot better at it as we move along. But essentially, this channel is going to be about highlighting things that get overlooked. Things that go under the radar. Some of it will be on the nose because I would think that people would know this stuff, but a lot of my coworkers, younger coworkers, are like, what the hell are you talking about when I'm talking about these classic albums or classic movies or classic books? And I'm like shocked that I don't know. It's just a new generation, new stuff. So this channel was named after essentially a song off my one of my favorite Clash albums. Not my favorite Clash album, one of my favorite Clash albums, and that's London Calling. And it's the song "Lost in the Supermarket." It's one of my all-time favorite tracks. I like to play it for people if they've never heard of the Clash because it's kind of an easy one to go into. Because some of their stuff can be abrasive and in your face, which I love. But this one really hits the nail on the head as far as like dealing about like talking about like commercialism and consumerism, what it means to build your personality off the things you buy, and so I kind of wanted to highlight some of the things that I've bought and been given throughout the years. So essentially, I think this channel will deal a lot about music, movies, books, and other stuff that I find interesting that I think you may find interesting. I kind of based a lot of this on quite a few of my coworkers, younger coworkers, were literally not getting the references on things I was talking about as far as classic albums, classic books, and awesome music. Movies. I mean, awesome movies. It's like their world ends at the year 2000 and nothing before, and so I don't understand. So it's essentially what this is I'm trying to expound upon the cool things that I enjoyed. Uh, I'm an older millennial, so I straddle the 20th century and 21st century pretty good. Um, and this is honestly, I actually personally love this because the 21st century has been a little underwhelming for me, if I'm being perfectly honest, as far as especially movie wise. Good lord, movie wise, it's been underwhelming. Music has been all right. There's definitely been other much better genres and decades that I enjoy a lot more. But if 9 out of 10 times, if I'm gonna make somebody watch something or something, I'm gonna go with a really heavy hitter. We're watching something from the 20th century, or we're listening to something from the 20th century. I don't know why it hits harder. I don't know. It seems like maybe these people were more authentic. They could actually play their instruments. They actually had to physically cut the film. I don't know what it is, but digitalness in general has cheapened things, has made things not as authentic and don't hit as hard or heavy for me. Um, and so I'm making a lot of these videos to kind of highlight to people what I think they should expose themselves to. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that you should agree or like it. That's not my place. That's your place, whether you agree or like something. My thing is that if you never have any sort of reference other than what's new or on Spotify or what's being rammed down your throat by the corporate media, then you're only ever going to get puddle deep. You're not going to get to their surface level, should I say. You're only going to get surface level. You're never going to get all the way down. And you want to get all the way down in it because there's some incredible artists and music that have been done throughout the years that I think if more people paid attention to and exposed themselves to, it would really just blow your mind. I think it would just change a lot of your opinions on stuff. As crazy as that sounds, exposing yourself to other points of view tends to do that sometimes. Not always, but it can. So, yeah. If you only ever accept the corporate media slop they give you, then you get ready for nothing but sequels and repeats and rehashes of the same old shit. Some of the best stuff ever done was done one off. Wasn't thought of to do, oh, we need to make this into a franchise. No, it was done one time to make a point, to say something about this world and then move on. Um, you know, it's essentially what I think's wrong with a lot of what's going on is that people just rehashing playing it safe, doing the same stuff over and over and over, and expecting you to keep picking up the tab on it, essentially. So I thought I would use this first video to just kind of tell you a little bit about myself and maybe kind of give you a window into the things I like before we even really get into it. Because I got quite a few records. I got a shitload of movies, um, and quite a few books actually. So I guess we can start by talking about the very first record I ever bought in my life, 1995. The Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy Infant Sadness. With my own money, got my mom to take me up to On Cue. I got her to stand in line with me, and when they try to shut me down for that being explicit parental advice, screw you, Tipper Gore, for trying to prevent me from getting it, by the way. It's probably a reference a lot of y'all don't get, but she definitely tried to stop me from getting it. My mom, bless her, said, no, no, he's cool. He can listen to this. And so my very first album was Melancholy Infant Sadness, Smashing Pumpkins. It's still in my top 10 albums of all time. I'm very much aware that it's not the Smashing Pumpkins' best album. That would probably be Siamese Dream. But it's just such a touchstone on my life. It's my first breakup, my hanging out with my brother, playing ping pong to some of the rocked out songs. Like, it's an iconic thing for me. It's like comfort food. I come back to that album so much. I probably listen to it at least 4 times a year, all the way through, if not listening to individual tracks here and there throughout. I still love it. Still love Billy Corgan. I think if you haven't listened to uh, Smashing Pumpkins, you really should. A lot of their newer stuff that's actually just been coming out recently, actually, like a lot more than the kind of turn of the century stuff they were doing. But I mean, I've always liked Smashing Pumpkins straight up, and I think that if you give their discography a chance, Billy sounds a little different than a normal singer, but he plays inspired, as does, and and their drummer Jimmy Chamberlain, it has to be one of the best rock drummers ever. Super underrated. If you know anything about drums, Jimmy's got the chops. He really has the chops. And they got James. I think it's Iha. I forget it, but he's basically the first cool Asian guy I remember on TV, like playing the guitar and thinking that is the coolest dude ever. He had like silver hair. Just thought it's like what I knew he was young, but I was like, what the hell is this guy up to? He's so cool. I still think he's cool. And Darcy, of course, every great band, I think, like the great bands, it seems like they have a female bass player, and they're awesome. You go from the Pixies to the freaking Pumpkins. Just a lot of classic bands having that female up there is just adds something to it. So I would strongly recommend you get this album, or listen to it desperately if you haven't. Spotify it, whatever you got to do. Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy Infant Sadness. It'll change your life, I hope, because it really did change mine. It's the very first album I ever got, and I love it. Still have my original CD. I have a backup CD. I have the vinyl. It's my thing. It's my jam. So like in the early, so this has been right when it's coming out. It's like probably that'd be 91, 92. Remember being in school, and I was trying to tell this kid how cool Vanilla Ice was, because I'd seen Vanilla Ice on MTV. And he was older than me. He was an after school chair, and I remember he just like cut me off, and he was like, no, you're listening to the wrong stuff. Are you listening to Nirvana? And I was like, Nirvana? I had no idea what he was talking about. I hadn't heard that. Somehow I've been living under a rock, and I had not heard about that band. And then it seemed like maybe a couple weeks later, I finally saw Smells Like Teen Spirit, the music video. And I'm not kidding you when I say I think sometimes it's the last defining rock song, should I say, because there's been some fantastic rap songs in the 21st century that had that cultural cachet that Smells Like Teen Spirit did. Now this is In Utero. This is the album after Nevermind that had Smells Like Teen Spirit. I prefer In Utero over Nevermind, but Nevermind is an absolute classic as well. You can't go, just Nirvana's good. I really think that's the last band that, you know, like the jocks and the geeks and the goths and everyone could agree like there were some bangers on that album and you could enjoy it regardless of your background, really. And now with the internet, everything's so democratized. There will never be a band like that, I don't think, ever again, that's everybody stops on a dime and listens to. Gives them a moment. May not love it, may not be your favorite thing, but you're arrested for a moment by the cultural moment that everyone's experiencing. It has in my life it hasn't happened since, other than I will give Kendrick credit for Not Like Us. That was awesome. And I've always been a big Kendrick fan. I know this is bouncing around, but I want to put that on blast. Kendrick, Not Like Us had that cultural cachet. That was just, it locks people in a moment in time. People won't forget where they were when they first heard it. And that's very much how Smells Like Teen Spirit was with me. It was amazing. It's something I never forgot. So when I got a little older, and I saw a great movie called Lost in Translation. It's one of my all-time favorites. It was right when I went to college. The movie came out. Holy shit, I'm dating myself. But that was my experience living in a big city away from my family for the first time. Lost in translation. I mean, like, I was like, what is going on? Everyone's zipping around me. Everyone's got lives and doing stuff, and I was just sitting there like in my shell trying to figure out what the hell am I going to do? How am I going to assimilate all this? So I remember seeing the movie, and I absolutely loved the soundtrack. I loved the soundtrack. It was just so emotional and evocative of being in that headspace where you were just anxious and not knowing what you're going to do next. And so I finally found out that the common denominator of that soundtrack was a guy named Kevin Shields. Kevin Shields is the lead guitarist / lead songwriter of My Bloody Valentine. This album is called Loveless. You should know it. Most people know it. A lot of people know it, should I say. When I was listening to it 27 years ago, I had just stumbled upon it, even though people were at that time were saying, oh, it's really, really good. I wasn't seeing it in any publications or anything. And since then, I've seen it move up more and more and more up on people's all-time great lists. And as it should. I really, in my opinion, of every music I've ever heard in my life, everything, I think that this is my desert album. This is my desert island album. This is the one that I would take because I can listen to this record so many times, multiple times, and on headphones. And there is so much going on that it's like every time I listen to it, I find something new. And I know that may sound corny, like you've heard that before, but I swear to God, every time I listen to that thing, I'm like, oh, do you hear that in the background? Oh, I had no idea that this was reversed. You can hear it being reversed. It's just weird. It's weird how layered it is, but also how simply, like, melodic it is. It's one of those albums where I suggest to people, and it's like 50-50 whether people like it or not. It's really crazy. And to me, it's like everyone should stop whatever they're doing when it's on and just let it wash over you and just absorb into you. But some people are put off by it. It is a dense sound. It's a pretty much psychedelic guitar rock, but it's just on another level. I really can't. I'll never have words to truly get around how good this freaking record is. But I would strongly suggest you get My Bloody Valentine. Pretty much they're one of those bands that he never puts out something bad. Now, I would say that, okay. Their first few EPs and albums were with a different singer. And whenever they dropped David Conway, who was, I like some of that stuff, but whenever they brought on Belinda Butcher, their kind of lead vocalist girl, it changed the band fundamentally and for the better, for the incredibly better. Because she's absolutely wonderful. She's one of my favorite vocalists of all time. Um, and it's an all time great album. That's all I can really say about it. I still listen to it. It's the reason I picked my guitar back up and started playing again more. And it's one of the albums that gives me true passion. I was going to tell anyone who's going to be getting into like record collecting and stuff and I always have suggested this to people throughout the years as I've been collecting, is that you should pick one band. I don't know, whatever band you're into, one, and get every single release they ever did. Get everything they did. It more of like as a challenge while you're out looking for stuff, because you're like, I'm always trying to get to complete this discography of one band, and it gets it to where I think you don't spend a whole bunch of money, because that's what I did starting out. I was fortunate that the very start of my record collection was given to me, a big chunk of it, by my neighbor when I lived in New Orleans. Helped her move. She was moving back to Germany, and she hooked me up with some incredible albums. I mean, some of the best soul albums in the world I have. David Bowie albums. Like, it was just a godsend that this woman came into my life. And Susie, if you're out there, I know it's been years and years, but I hope you're doing well in Germany. And yeah, Susie, if you're out there, I hope you're doing well. I still listen to those albums all the time, and you placed them in good hands, placing them with me. Well, real quick, I wanted to talk about this because so many people, I love the Beatles. It's one of my, I'm not trying to be an elitist or something, but one of the first things that you can say to me that will make me just tune you out, and I know this is, I'm just being honest, if you say I hate the Beatles. You can dislike the Beatles. You can say I don't understand how they got to be so big culturally, blah, blah, blah. Anything you want to say. But to say you hate the Beatles, I'm out. I'm not listening to you anymore. They're just too important. They're they are the backbone of modern, like, pop guitar rock and pop, honestly, in a way. There's no Spotify streams you can do to say, oh, the most, this, that, and it doesn't matter. This fly is driving me crazy and pissing me off in here, to be perfectly honest. It's becoming very distracting. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about the Beatles. I mean, where do you start? They're one of my all-time favorite bands. Thank God my father and mother really pushed how good they were and refused to. I mean, honestly, I took to the Beatles very quick. Unlike Led Zeppelin, I fought Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd for some reason with my dad for a while. I was like, I don't get these guys, and now I can't live without either one of those bands. I love those two bands so much. But the Beatles weren't like that. I only had to hear, Penny Lane and I Want to Hold Your Hand, some of the early stuff, and I was just like, they're great. And by the time you get to, Sergeant Pepper and on, when they're really getting psychedelic and getting out there, it's like, wow, they are so freaking good. But I wanted to highlight my favorite Beatles album. And my favorite Beatles album is Revolver. It's the one right before Sgt. Pepper. And essentially, they actually recorded Rubber Soul and Revolver around the same sessions. They actually could have probably been a double album if they wanted to have done it, which in my opinion would have been the greatest double album of all time. No one would ever question it. It would be the one. It would actually be, I think, the best album, period, of all time. But they split them up like what was they did back in the day. And Revolver, it just has so many good tracks. They finally start letting George get some of more of his songs on there. It's got Taxman and probably, in my opinion, one of the greatest songs ever. And it gets, Beatles fans, it doesn't get lost in their discography. But for a lot of other people, they'll say A Day in the Life or, um, something, Here Comes the Sun. Like all these great tracks that came after this track that I'm about to say. But to me, this is the like when the Beatles left their old image of the four lads from Liverpool and became like cosmic entities practically, and that's Tomorrow Never Knows. It's in my top three Beatles songs. Um, it's weird, it's wonderful. It, it's just like it's like their whole life was working towards that song. If the Beatles, I think, would have like ended, say something tragic happened and they never made Sergeant Pepper, they never made Abbey Road, they never made Magical Mystery Tour or Let It Be, which those albums are amazing. I love Abbey Road especially. I think that their legacy was truly set with Revolver and Tomorrow Never Knows, because we would have had Hard Day's Night, Help, Rubber Soul, Meet the Beatles. We'd had all these fantastic albums, and then it would have crescendoed with one of the weirdest tracks of the '60s, straight up, still a strange track. And yeah, whenever I talk to people about the Beatles, it's the one I talk about. It's actually one of my favorite topics of discussion if I'm getting to know somebody I don't know, and somehow the Beatles come up. I'm like, "What's your favorite Beatles album?" Nobody says Revolver. I have no idea why. I have no idea why. I either get Abbey Road or Sergeant Pepper 9 out of 10 times. And Sergeant Pepper, I'm sorry, is not. It's culturally amazing. It's a touchstone for culture, pop culture. It's a good album. Don't get me wrong. Um, but when you've listened to as much Beatles as I have, I'm telling you, Sergeant Pepper just doesn't hit like it used to. Or Sergeant Pepper just doesn't hit as hard, should I say? It's like you hear all that. I mean, especially Abbey Road, the medley at the end of Abbey Road. It's like to me, it wipes the floor with Sergeant Pepper. But like I say, we're splitting hairs here. It's the Beatles. They're amazing. Period. Um, One of my other favorite albums, and I tell people all the time, is this is my top five. Is Love Forever Changes. Um, this was like the LA band of the late '60s, even more so than the Doors. When Arthur Lee stepped back from the spotlight, pretty much kind of broke up the band. He started losing his mind a little bit from drugs and fractured his thing of what it can be in a band. The Doors stepped into that vacuum, but before then, it was Love. Love was the band of Los Angeles in the '60s, and it's just an amazing album. I mean, I listen to it at no less than probably 4 or 5 times a year, every single year. Uh, my wife is absolutely sick of it, and I'm always like, "How can you be sick of this album?" Like, I could just go. It can stop, and I can literally start it right back over. I love this album that much, and it's one that gets lost in the '60s. A lot of people skip over Love for some reason. They kind of been lost and forgotten away. But it's one of my all time favorites. I wanted to include these two because they're kind of complementary of one another. I mean, Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, I'm sure you've heard before. It's one of the all time great soul records. Marvin Gaye is one of my all time favorites. Um, and with this one, he was able to kind of break away from the Motown pop sound. I mean, it's a little in there, but it's a lot darker of an album. I believe it was his brother had come back from Vietnam, and he had made this album trying to figure out, his way and trying to figure out what was going on in the world. Oh, hey, the missus is home. You're exhausted from? Oh, roller skating. Awesome. Super cool. Well, okay, so the missus came in. Um, okay. So just sit down and chill. I don't. Actually, probably wouldn't even hurt because it's on this microphone. Okay. So moving on. I wanted to include two albums that I think are essential for anyone to listen to, and they're actually very complimentary of each other. First one is Marvin Gaye, "What's Going On," and the second one here is one of my all-time favorites, Sly and the Family Stone, "There's a Riot Going On." Sly famously came up with the title of that as a response to Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On." There's a riot going on. Both just absolute incredible albums, especially Marvin's. It was a he was, I think, trying to make sense of his brother having come back from Vietnam and having, obviously when you hear these guys go off to war, they don't come back the same. And I think he was trying to bridge that gap with what was going on with the world and what was going on in his mind and how they weren't really adding up right. And so it's an incredible album, a touchstone in soul, an absolute touchstone in soul. I wouldn't say touchstone; it's a capstone. It's like in the top three of all time. Um, in my opinion, especially with record sales and cultural cachet and everything, it's still got it. Sly, on the other hand, this is a dirtier album. Like literally, the recording process is a little grittier, a little more on the edge. And I think that his response, "There's a riot going on," said a lot about that. That he believed that stuff was falling apart at its seams, and he was trying to make sense of it. Supposedly, I think this is the first album that uses a drum track. I think he was also recording a lot of this at his house on with tape recorders and stuff. So it's just got like a layer to it. It's got a weight that a lot of albums I've heard before don't have. It's something to behold. It's one of my all-time favorite records. And I think everyone should listen to both of them. I think you should listen to all of these, but it's just a great record. A great record. One behind me, probably can't see it as well. Let me pull it out a little bit, but it's a J.J. Cale's Naturally, his first album. If you like Eric Clapton, you love J.J. Cale. You just don't know it yet. Clapton took a lot of his inspiration from J.J. Cale. He actually recorded, After Midnight, Cocaine. Those are J.J. Cale songs. And J.J. Cale's from Tulsa, and kind of one of those unheralded guitarists that if you get into the know and listening to a lot of music, J.J. Cale had one of the best tones of guitar of all time. Great songwriter too, but one of my favorite YouTube things to watch is Leon Russell and J.J. Cale. I think it's like a PBS special or something, and it's like he's showing his guitar, and I'm telling you, it's like he has rigged this guitar up, like the back is off of it, and it has all these electronics that he's stuffed into it. Like it shouldn't work, but it works, and it not only does it work, it sounds freaking amazing. And so I always tell people, I was an underrated guitarist. I say J.J. Cale, man. Eric Clapton was flying into Tulsa to listen to some of this stuff, to be like, oh, okay, all right, that's how you play a guitar, and not that Eric couldn't play the guitar already, but good guitarists are always kind of searching for something new and unique about other guitarists, I think, because that's how you can perfect tone and set yourself apart. You gotta hear your contemporaries. And so yeah, I love JJ. I've always suggested that people really check out his discography, because he has a lot of albums and they're pretty much all good. You're not gonna go wrong with anything. So now that we're getting to the end here a little bit, I wanted to kind of highlight uh, a book that because I said I wanted to highlight books and movies and stuff, and so I wanted to highlight particularly this book, um, Fear and Trembling by Soren Kierkegaard. It's of everything I've ever read in my life, it's the most impactful book I've ever read. It's literally just dealing about what is faith. What is it to have faith in this world and anything? How can you define such a thing? How do you know you have it? How do you know you're not lying to yourself? And it was. I read it at a very formative time in my life. I was on track to be a lawyer. I was working in a downtown New Orleans law firm, like the law firm of New Orleans, and I remember reading this, and I was just totally enraptured by it. It was just I couldn't stop turning the page. I mean, I remember I literally got up and went to the bathroom a few times and just read. I just sat in there and read this book because I thought it was that good. I had to get a chapter in. And so when people ask me, like, what's a good book, I think, they're expecting a Stephen King or F. Scott Fitzgerald or something, you know what I mean? Something like that. James Baldwin, all great writers, don't get me wrong. But something about the way Kierkegaard was able to really express to me what it means to hold faith after I've wondered, how do you do it? He really defined it for me, made me understand, and I haven't been the same ever since I read that book. I quit corporate world. I went a totally different route in my life, and I had the faith to do it. And a lot of it is from that book, and it's not necessarily it's more like an essay on stuff, a really really long essay, but I don't want to give too much away with it. I just want to press upon you that this is something that changed my life, and that maybe if you read something like that, or that has changed your life, that one or two books ever, this is the one for me. And I really hope that you get out of this is that you could check that book out. I mean, it's amazing. Last but not least, I wanted to have something a little light to kind of chill out the video, to finish it out a little bit, not to all be so heavy. But John Carpenter, it's one of my all-time favorite directors. Not like my favorite, but he has the most consistent filmography, in my opinion, for just delivering great genre films with great effects, great music. And when you hear about the budgets he's shooting on, it's a crime. What some of these people are shooting movies for, and then they can't deliver a quarter of the result that man can deliver or had delivered. And Kurt Russell's one of my all-time favorite actors. It's not the best John Carpenter movie, but Big Trouble in Little China is it's a great little movie. It'll make you laugh. Maybe some of it's not politically correct anymore. I don't give a shit. It's still good. And I think that he was respectful of a lot of the source material that he was ripping off. And it doesn't come across... Basically, you can tell when they were shooting that, these people were having a really good time. And it exudes through the film. And, I got a lot of other movies I'm going to highlight. Kubrick... I got all the Kubrick you can imagine, Tarantino, Polanski, David Lynch. I mean, trust me, I have seen so many films. I should have said all this. I went to film school originally until I got more into the law track, and then I ended up going more into marketing and doing stuff like that afterwards. But I just have always really enjoyed John Carpenter's work, and I try to tell people to see it more because a lot of people I think just so underrate the man. He's still alive, thank God. Knock on some wood. But hopefully you can give him a shot. So yeah, we got all that. I kind of highlighted this first episode, just some stuff, and yeah, we're gonna call it good on this first episode. Moving forward, I think I'll start highlighting individual bands or showing you like all the discography I got of one artist or an underrated album and really talk about and expound upon it more. But I just kind of wanted to give you kind of a basic rundown of what I want this to be, and you know if not to be doom and gloom, but I mean it's just a simple fact. You know, each century has been more violent and bloody than each century before. The 16th century was more violent than the 15th century. The 20th century was more violent than the 19th century. Usually that's because of technological advancements and all these sorts of things. So, I think that a lot of what's going on, about to happen in this world is going to, it's 2025. Shit's about to pop off. Germany is German troops are outside Germany for the first time since 1945. If you know anything on history in the world history, Germans leave Germany, shit's gonna pop off. It's just the way of the world. I don't know why. That great Norm Macdonald joke, like, Germany's picked a fight with the world twice. And they're still, I think they're they're in the top 7, I think, economies in the world. So part of the reason I did this whole thing was that if anyone stumbled upon this, I wanted to be able to say that I gave you some good stuff that you can maybe be listening to in the field while you're out there defending our liberties and stuff like that. That's kind of like the gist of it all for right now. This first video, just showing some of the things that touched me and changed my life, and the reason I'm even talking to you at this point.